Okay, let's write down for this particular problem, the R1 plus R2 is going to be minus B. Whoops, I don't mean to put that down like that. And the reason for that, it's not really a big B in this case over here. What is it going to be? Let's write this down. And again, I have a problem with the uppercase, lowercase letters, but I realize that it's minus lowercase b over a, and I know that R1 times R2 in this case is going to be the lowercase c over the lowercase a. Now, of course, I know what they want, and I'm going to try to deliver that, all right? So what do I want? I want certainly squares. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take R1, R2, and square it. And what would that give me? That would give me R1 squared plus R2 squared plus 2R1 R2. Now, I don't want that. What I want is I want R1 squared plus R1 R2 plus R2 squared. Well, that's going to equal R1 plus R2, quantity squared, and then I'd have to take away minus R1, R2. All right? So I think I have those. I think I know those. And what would that give me? Well, that would give me B squared over A squared. I've accounted for this. And then I got to take away this, which is minus C over A. And that's coming down to A squared. And what would you get there? B squared minus AC. Put a little circle around this, circle around this, and we're in agreement. All right, the next one, I'm kind of looking at it. I did some preliminary work over here, and I'm going to say, just looking at what I did above, R1 squared plus R2 squared would equal R1 plus R2 squared minus 2R1 R2. Well, let me write that down for you. Again, R1 plus R2 is minus B over A. When I square that, I get B squared over A squared minus 2R1 R2. And what's that going to give me? That's going to give me minus 2C over A. And then someone says, what are you going to do with that? Well, I'm going to write it down. And this is going to be B squared over A squared minus 2C over A. And what's R1 times R2? It's C over A. Now, I would multiply top mono by A squared. And what do you get? B squared minus 2AC all over CA, or AC. Same answer, B squared minus 2AC over AC. All right, let's do this one over here. And again, I'm looking at it and I'm wondering how to do that, and one step at a time. All right, so, kind of looking at it, and let me just go through that with you. And let's write it down. So I'm going to write this down as R1 times R2 squared. And then what do you get on top? You get R1 squared plus R2 squared. Well, deja vu all over again. And I'm going to say, I know what R1 plus R2 squared, each of those squared is. What is going to be? B squared over A squared minus 2C over A. What goes on bottom? Well, R1, R2, but quantity squared. And what's that going to be? A squared. I'm sorry, I went too quickly with that. Let me just erase that. That's not correct. It is going to be C squared over A squared. Let me write that down for you. What am I going to do? Multiply top and bottom by A squared. And what do you get there? Well, let's write this down. You're going to get B squared minus 2AC over C squared. Let's circle it. Let's circle it. And I think we did okay. We got it. All right. This one's a little more complicated, and the reason it's a cube, so I got to write it down again, and I'll write it down. So what are you going to write down? Well, I'm going to write down R1 plus R2 cubed. What would that give me? R1 cubed plus 3 R1 squared R2 plus 3 R1 R2 squared plus R2 cubed. All right, I gotta be careful here. So I'm gonna write this down. R1 plus R2 cubed minus, well, here comes the tough part. I'm taking away this, and I'm gonna write down in a particular way. I'm gonna write it as 3 R1 R2. Now what would we be left off with? Well, if I did that, I guess I would be given R1 plus R2. And what would that equal? It would equal R1 cubed plus R2 cubed. And I think I can do this. What's R1 plus R2? Well, if you remember, it's way up here. It's minus B over A. I'll write that down for you. Cubed minus 3. What's R1, R2? Well, it's up here. It's C over A. I'll write that down for you. And what's R1 plus R2? It's minus B over A. And what's that equal? R1 cubed plus R2 cubed. All right, let's keep going. And what do you get over there? You would get minus B cubed over A cubed. And over here, you're going to get plus 3ABC over A cubed. Well, I can add that together. What's that going to give you? A cubed. And then I write down 3ABC minus B cubed. And we're seeing that right over here. Let's see if there's any other problems to do. And I think we're done. All right? Now, I think in this problem set, I really haven't said my name. Usually I say my name a couple times.